Welcome, my dear audience and friends, to Cancer Convos with Grace B. This is your host, Grace B, coming to you from New York City, the city that never sleeps and is home to Cancer Convos with Grace B. Men's Health Month has ended. However, I find it very necessary to continue these pertinent convos until the end of July. We know that men are usually the last to take care of their health, except they're literally pushed to do so. So, in this episode, I will be speaking with an inspiring and impactful diabetes patient leader who will be explaining what diabetes is all about and how he's been able to manage the disease and quality of life by adjusting his lifestyle habits. Therefore, without much ado, let me welcome the amazing Chelcie Rice to the show. Welcome, Chelcie, and I'm
Thank you very
so
much.
glad you could come
Thank you.
on.
Oh, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
I had some applause over here somewhere. I don't know where it is. I don't know, I have to play around with my. No, not that one. No, not that one. No, not that one. No, not that one. No.
Oh, this is nice.
Yeah, that's kind of boring. I don't know where my applause went, but anyway.
Yeah, but that's okay. You're putting some fun into our mix, right?
I tried to, yeah.
So, without much ado, tell us a little bit about yourself. Everybody knows your name already, but introduce yourself, city, state, occupation.
Yeah, my name is Chelcie Rice. I'm currently living in Pensacola, Florida. I was in Atlanta for, I almost lived in Atlanta for almost 30 years. Originally from Georgia, but now I'm in the state of Florida, now in Pensacola. Um, been type 1 diabetic now for over 30 years, probably over 30 years. I was diagnosed back in around 1988, 1989.
Okay.
The golden years, the
I
old
know.
days. Yeah, I know, right? Things have changed a lot, a
I
lot.
know.
Um, see, more. And I started advocating, I think around the year 2012
Hmm.
when I really started, which was, you think about it, I was diagnosed in the 80s, and I didn't really get into like, advocacy until like um, the 2000s, because I didn't even know even anything like that even remotely existed. And that was due to social media, how I really got into it. So yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah. So how did you know? How did you discover that you had it?
What happened was at the time I was having the symptoms, the frequent urination, constant thirst, um, body aches, fatigue, all those normal uh, symptoms that you would have when you start to develop diabetes. And I didn't really think that much about it. I thought I was just really having a lot of muscle aches,
Hmm.
just, maybe I had the flu or something. And what had happened was at the time I was living in Athens, Georgia, and my roommate at the time, he and I were both musicians at our local church in Athens. And he started noticing that I would get up in the middle of the church to actually go to the restroom. And I'd never done that, not even as a kid. Um, and so he, without me knowing about it, he set up an appointment with a urologist for me in town. And so I went to the urologist. He took, a urine sample, whatever, and just came back and told me I had diabetes.
How old were you at this time?
25.
Okay.
And so I went in. I actually ended up in the hospital for like a week. And
Hmm.
oddly enough, I was in the hospital that I actually worked in. So that was something else that I had to really kind of, deal with because, you get to walk around with your coworkers looking at you all the time, sitting in the hospital bed, not
Yeah.
understanding why you're there.
Hmm.
And so that was, so I was in the hospital for like maybe close to a week. A lot of education. Well, I wouldn't say a lot of education, but a lot of time was spent giving me booklets and um, we didn't have any type. They didn't have any type of VCR tapes or anything to watch or anything of that nature. So it was all pretty much hands on. They taught me how to give myself my insulin, and So it was a kind of overwhelming because I didn't really know anything about diabetes. My grandmother was diabetic. I suspect she was probably type 2 because she was on
Okay.
oral medication.
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of something that I had to really kind of wrap my head around.
Mm-hmm.
And so once I got out of the hospital, it was more or less obviously a big, lifestyle change because I had been accustomed to um, eating whatever I wanted. Um,
Exactly.
I wasn't a smoker or anything. I mean, I wasn't out of shape, but I wasn't in shape
Mm-hmm.
per se, which actually stands a testament close to why I was type 1 because I wasn't overweight or anything of that nature. And I didn't really have any really bad um, habits.
Okay.
Um, and
I wanted to come back
yep.
just for the sake of us that really are not aware. What is the difference between a type 1 diabetic and a type 2 diabetic? You just mentioned your granny that
Mhm.
was a type 2
Right.
because she was taking oral meds. So what's it with the type 1 diabetic patient?
Well, with a type 1, it's an autoimmune disorder. It's basically when my pancreas decides to just quit. I'm not producing any more insulin.
Excellent.
Oftentimes, and I'm pretty much giving you a layman's term because I'm not, a medical professional or anything, but basically,
Sure.
um, cells get attacked, and then the pancreas no longer creates insulin, by which I
Mhm.
have to take insulin shots or use an insulin pen, or in my case, what I'm right now, I'm using an insulin pump. For type 2s, it's more of there's a lot of gray area out there now as far as like what really causes type 2. It can be genetic, it can be lifestyle issues.
Mhm.
Um, it could be a number of things, and there hasn't really been anyone that's actually nailed down what that is. Um, and so the treatment of it can actually go in a lot of different ways as well. I mean, you could change your whole eating habits, exercise, and that can put it, at bay.
Yes.
Um, and in some areas where it's not always about that, it can have to be, you would have to be on either oral medication and sometimes even insulin.
Mhm.
There's a lot of changes been in the past, at least since I've been diagnosed with different insulins that have been coming, down the pike, and some of those are actually, created for type 2s.
Okay.
Um, and so the treatments have changed a lot.
Mhm.
Um, More so, I think, with type 2s. Um, and so with my case, with it, being type 1, I'm pretty much insulin dependent. I'm going to have to take insulin because obviously my pancreas doesn't create it. With type 2s, your pancreas still creates some, but not a great deal, by which you would need
Okay.
to change a lot of things and
Yes.
really
So
listen
how
to your.
how often do you take it for type 1? How often are you required to take?
It varies. I mean, depending on when I was first diagnosed, I took very little. Um, I mean, I literally I probably didn't take any more than say 20, 30 units a day. It was very little. And
Okay.
I think I had to give myself maybe 3 shots a day.
Mhm.
And then eventually you go through that phase, what they call the honeymoon phase, and then things start to change. Your body starts to react differently and change. Uh, when I was when I was
React
first
for the
diagnosed,
worse or for the better?
well, it's just changes and things have to
Okay.
be adjusted. Like
Yes.
when I was first diagnosed, if my blood sugar was like around say 80, I'd get the shakes and get the sweats and everything. But now if I'm 80, I don't even know it. That's how
Okay.
it changes. And so now I have to be more aware of
Mhm.
how my body reacts because that came on gradually. I had
Mhm.
to kind of pay close attention because like when I started checking my blood sugar and seeing that I was 80 and I didn't even know it, so I was like, well, that's changed
Mhm.
because I used to just like get the sweats and stuff, years before. So now you're in that phase where everything has to change and you have to really pay closer attention, because that's something that a lot of people with diabetes need to understand, is like things aren't going to always be the same.
Mm-hmm.
Your body's going to change on you. Your body's going to tell you things that you need to listen to.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's kind of no way around that. So that's why I mean, because it can be very dangerous, because if your blood sugar gets low, you can, pass
Either
out, which has
way,
happened to me.
right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So it comes down to, you have to pay closer attention to what your body is doing and listen, and
Yes.
definitely check the numbers.
Wow. So what actually came to mind when you got this diagnosis? I mean, during this period, it was years back.
Oh yeah.
You were a young man, and all this taking place. What came to mind? Were you, especially as your grandmother had it, was it something you were really aware about, so to speak, since it was already in the family? No?
No, because I had no idea. My grandmother was the only person I had known that even remotely had diabetes, and but even then, I still didn't know that much about it. I mean,
Yes.
obviously, because I was 25, my head was all totally different planet altogether.
Mm-hmm.
My body was the last thing I was thinking about, and so she was actually the one that suspected I was diabetic. Because
Okay.
when I'd gone to, she lived right next door to us, and I went home to visit, and I told her what was wrong with me, and she's, just kind of looked skeptical, and she pulled out her glucometer and checked my blood sugar, and sure enough, it was high. But that was before my roommate had set up
The
the appointment for
meeting.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she had an idea, um,
Mm.
and so if I had paid more attention to what she was saying, maybe I probably would have set the appointment up myself. But that just wasn't where my head was at, obviously.
Yeah.
Um, so like I said, my diagnosis came kind of backward,
Mm-hmm.
but I guess in a way I'm glad it did, because the alternative could have been something a lot worse.
Lot worse. So what walk us down your treatments and all that. What kind of treatments are you currently on? Insulin, pills, or whatever. And have you had to have any surgeries or any other interventions? Because I do know of a lot of, even in my family, it's diabetes has brought about so many crazy things,
Yeah.
honestly. Um, I have a very close cousin of mine who is on like his third or fourth eye surgery,
Right.
because of pressure in the eye and all that. And some have had strokes and stuff like that. So thank God you're looking well and everything. But in the past, have you had to undergo anything like that?
Yeah. When was it, around 2005, I had experienced blood leaks. It started in my left eye. Um, it just started. I don't know if you've ever seen like dropping ink in water. It just kind of
Mm-hmm.
streams down like that. That's basically
Yeah.
what it looked like inside my eye. I had no idea what it was. I didn't think that it was blood because it was black. And
Yeah.
so um, that happened, and I didn't really know what to do. And at the time, I had very limited health insurance, because I was
Mm-hmm.
working in retail, I think, at the time. And so my insurance was pretty limited,
Mm-hmm.
specifically vision insurance. And so somehow or another, I had gone to like one of these eyeglass stores and had one of the $50 um, eye exams,
Mm-hmm.
which wasn't enough. But they told me what I needed. I needed to get someone to see that, a better doctor to actually look in the back of my eye to see what was going on. And
Mm-hmm.
so eventually I did that somehow or another. And they told me what had happened. And basically what had happened, the blood vessels had ruptured in my eye. And so the blood
Oh,
was leaking
wow.
inside my eye. And so as time went on, I mean, I had to go around basically with that in my eye for quite a while before I was able to have proper insurance
Oh, dear.
to get it, because I was kind of like in between jobs. I was, like I said, I was working retail, and then I was fortunate enough to get another job that had better insurance, a better
Mm-hmm.
full-time job,
Mm-hmm.
and that insurance allowed me to eventually have the surgeries that I needed, which is called a vitrectomy. Basically, they go inside the eye and they remove the blood from the liquid in the eye, and they
Yeah.
use a laser to kind of basically cauterize the blood vessels to keep them from leaking.
Okay.
And so, with that being said, I gotten my vision back in my left eye. Um, and sometime in between, while my eye was getting better
Mm.
after that surgery, the same thing happened to my right eye.
Oh my
That was maybe
goodness.
like a year or so after.
Seriously? Oh
Yeah.
my.
And but this one ended up worse because um, that damage caused the retina to detach, and so I had to have another vitrectomy. But I didn't get much of my vision back. So right now I can't see out of this eye. I mean, I can see
Okay.
like shadows or uh, like little ghosts or whatever, just movement and just blurred things in my right eye.
Mm-hmm.
But so I had those two surgeries in both my eyes, and so I've got partial vision, well, very limited vision. I would probably say about, I guess you could say maybe 10%. I mean, I can't
Mm-hmm.
really read or anything, but this one is the majority of the vision is back in my left eye enough to where I can still work, I can still drive. I don't drive much at night because
Please don't.
I guess due to the surgery, my eyes don't adjust like they should at night. And
Mm-hmm.
so I kind of limit my driving at night. But that was the main surgeries that I've had. Anything else, I mean, I haven't had any other surgeries like, any kidney damage or
Thank God.
any other organs or anything. I had cataracts removed from
Mm-hmm.
both eyes. And being diabetic makes you more susceptible to cataracts, from what I understand. And so I had that done, which was actually pretty easy. I mean, it was kind of weird because you're still asleep, but they still have your eye open,
Open.
so
Yes.
you can actually see what's going on, but it's almost
Mm-hmm.
like a dream.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that was the weirdest part of it. But it's like I said, it's pretty. Most of like stuff like cataracts is pretty, outpatient type stuff. You can go in and
And
didn't
come
have
out
somebody pick you up and
almost.
bring you back home.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then just give it a few days to heal up, and you'll be fine.
Yes.
So I've never understood why a lot of people are skittish about it, because they've come a long way with cataract surgery. They can just knock it out, in a few hours and you're done. You go in early enough and you're straight for the rest of the day.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's pretty easy.
Absolutely. So, in the middle of all this, you've come a long way with it, and especially now that you're in advocacy and all that, what kind of lifestyle changes have you had to undergo? Yeah,
Um,
diet and
yeah,
whatever.
definitely the diet. Being aware. The biggest thing that I would suggest to anybody, honestly, whether it's diabetes or any other, um, um, internal condition, is to, when you're shopping for food, read the labels. And that's what I learned a lot about, was just reading labels and seeing how so many things just kind of fooled me.
True.
Um, I would eat I would eat canned pasta, like the Chef Boyardee beefaroni, that type of stuff. And
Sugar.
it never caused me any, any thought process, because when you're dealing with diabetes, you have to learn about portions.
Yes.
What is actually a portion and what's not, what's more than a portion.
Mm-hmm.
I thought a whole can with the beefaroni was one portion, but I look at
Mm-hmm.
the cans and that's actually two portions. So you
Yes.
got to do the math and come up with an idea of exactly how much medication you need to take to counter that.
Mm-hmm.
So that was one of the biggest things, was like, because I never was big on math. I never liked math as a kid, but obviously when you're counting carbs and things like reading labels, you get to understand what carbs are and what the difference between carbs and sugar is, and all those kind of measurements and stuff, that how that plays into how much medicine you have to take. So
True.
it's just a matter of you had to learn a lot. Um, and a lot of other diabetics, such as myself, we don't I don't like doing a lot of carb counting. I kind
Mm-hmm.
of eyeball it, and I learned to do that. And that all comes with time and just with, for lack of a better word, practice. So you get
Yeah.
to, yeah, I mean, it's just a matter of just living with it long enough to actually learn these things. And then, of course, people you meet along the way,
Yes.
you learn from them as well. I mean, I've been on insulin from the get-go. I've been on different types of insulin. There's, the regular stuff that you can actually pick up at Walmart now for $25. And then eventually I got on to, I was on the mix. It's called a 70/30. I was on that for a little while. And then I was on a pen for a little while. And then eventually, when the insurance companies kind of loosened up, I was able to get an insulin pump. And they haven't
Okay.
had my pump since 2005. So that was something that was kind of game changing,
Right. So
because
what does the pump do? I
it
mean,
basically, what they do now with the advancements in it, what they do now, they, with the work of, with the help of a CGM, constant glucose monitor, yeah, constant glucose monitor. It's basically
monitor.
a device that I wear on me.
CGM, yes.
The CGM, it basically reads my blood sugar,
Mm-hmm.
and I can check mine depending on which one you have. I can check mine on my phone, and then
Okay.
I have an idea of where I am. Then I can actually plug that into the pump, and the pump, along with the settings that the doctor prescribes,
Mm-hmm.
it can do all the math for me.
Okay.
So if my blood sugar is like around 120, and I know I'm going to be eating something that may have X amount of carbs in it, I get an idea of where I'm at and what I'm going to be, intaking. Now I can do
Mm-hmm.
that math either, on a calculator or different food calculators, and have it figure out exactly how much insulin I would want to take. Or basically, in some cases, since the pump's going to do a lot of the math, I can just put in what my blood sugar is, and then it'll figure it out.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, of course, for example, if you wanted to have your meal now, you would, put that in for the data, and then it'll come up. Does it come up with suggestions as well?
There are apps that do that now.
Yes, there are apps
Apps.
that
I
do
mean,
that.
there are apps like the things that was, I think it was called, used to be called Food King. I think you could actually look in that book and see, okay, I'm going to go grab something at Burger King. So I can just look in that book and find out which meal I was going to get in Burger King, and it'll tell me what the carbs and everything else with that meal is. And now, of course, um, those restaurants are required to put that on their menus
Their
anyway. So
menu.
yeah, so
Yes.
I can look up at the things. Oh, well, that's got X, blah blah blah.
Yes.
And of course, you get smart enough to say, well, I'm not eating fries anymore.
Mm-hmm.
That's just going to spike me. So you get a
Exactly.
salad or something. That way you don't have as many carbs going into you. And that, so you learn,
Mm-hmm.
basically you learn.
Well, we're all learning,
Yeah.
We're all learning as patient advocates. We honestly are. It's funny what sometimes the experiences that we go through, and
Mhm.
thankfully we relate with other people that have walked on our path as well,
Mhm.
who advise us and put us through, because it really is overwhelming, not just for diabetes, for all of us that have passed through
Yeah.
one medical challenge or the other. Yeah. But for diabetes, like I told you, my dad passed on as a result of it, and he didn't even know he had it until it was much, much later,
Right.
after retirement and all. And in some extreme cases, we have seen amputations. What actually results in one having an amputation? I was reading somewhere about these instances.
Yeah. Those are the extreme, um, I guess, instances where there's just so much damage and lack of circulation
Wow.
because the blood vessels become damaged, and they can't, um, the body can't take care of itself, and it just basically, um, I have a friend of mine back home. Her
Hmm.
mother recently had her leg amputated because of
Oh
diabetic
my God.
complications. She had been having she'd been having foot problems for the longest, and her blood sugar was oftentimes out of control, and but it just, and that was something that was in the back of my mind when I kept hearing about her having those constant problems. It was in the back of my mind that I hope it doesn't get to that point, but alas, it did. Um,
Oh dear.
And it's and I mean, I've met a lot of people who've been through it, um, and it's I can't imagine what it would be like, and that's why I'm kind of a stickler about taking care of my feet and making sure that I'm not having dealing with cuts or something on my legs and stuff like that. Because
Yes.
what happens is you get an injury like a cut
Mm-hmm.
on your toe. That may have just come from and it can all just start so innocently. Say your the skin on your feet gets dry in the wintertime and it cracks. Now, if you've already lost sensation
Mm.
in tip of your toe, you wouldn't even feel your skin
What was
crack.
going on? Your skin
Right,
cracking
right.
or any cold in your feet?
hmm and then say that split on your skin becomes infected, and you still don't even realize it. And oftentimes, the only way you realize it when you actually take a look, and that's why you have to really inspect
Mm-hmm.
your feet, because there are a lot of things that could happen that you don't know um, because of neuropathy.
Yes.
I've had neuropathy in my legs. That was a long time ago, almost like 20 something years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but through exercise, I got it to go away.
Mm-hmm.
So I got fortunate in that, and I haven't had any issues since. I mean, I've got some sensation loss in my toes, but nothing, but not anything grand, I guess you could say.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
that's why, like I say, is you have to take care of your body. Oftentimes, when comes to moisturizing your skin and making sure you don't get those cracks
Mm-hmm.
and splitting in the skin and having those wounds that may
Mm-hmm.
have difficulty healing. And so, you just have to do your due diligence. And I think that's
Absolutely.
where a lot of people lose sight of their their due diligence, because the truth of the matter is the doctor can only do so much. He can instruct you, but with autoimmune disease like diabetes, it's the majority of that weight is on you.
True.
He can tell you a ton of stuff to do, but unless you act on it, or unless you either do as he says,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to run into some complications. Now, a lot of times, the doctor may not tell you enough. Another thing that a lot of patients I've seen, they don't understand that you have the ability to fire the doctor. You're
Mm-hmm.
not stuck to him for the rest of your life. If he's not, listening to you or giving you the kind of,
Feedback
leadership and
that
help
you need or
feedback, yeah,
whatever.
get rid
Yeah.
of it and go find
Mm-hmm.
somebody else. I've had to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I've had doctors that basically just barely listen to me when I'm talking to them. They're sitting there typing on their computer. But
Mm-hmm.
now I was kind of surprised the doctor that I have now, he sat down and talked to me. That was something I haven't really seen in a while.
True.
I only had two doctors that actually put forth that effort to sit down and talk to me like that. So you just have to do your due diligence and make sure that you're taking care of yourself and put forth that effort. I mean, it's difficult. I mean, it's stressful. It's hard to when you're dealing with something where you have, especially when it comes to like food, people have their
Mm-hmm.
comfort zones, their comfort foods and stuff, and they don't like being told they can't have. So
Mm-hmm.
nobody's saying you can't have it, but you just have to be wise enough to know when to have enough,
Mm-hmm.
so you don't end up, in a certain situation where you don't want to be.
Absolutely. And we only have one body, yeah? And they say the body is the temple.
Yep.
So we
One
have to be
life.
very, oh yes, we have to be very, as you said, due diligence is pertinent, especially for those of us that are immunocompromised. You were talking about neuropathy. I experienced that when I was having chemo, you
Hmm.
know, for 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 some months I had no feelings in my feet, and
Right.
it was scary. But like you said, with exercise and a lot of massages and all that, it got better.
Right.
Because I'm thinking that if one were diabetic with the loss of sensation in your feet, you wouldn't actually know that there was anything
Exactly.
happening,
Yeah. People
you
have been
know.
burned, um, from heaters
Lord have mercy.
because they didn't realize that they were burned. they couldn't feel the
The
pain.
heat, the
Yeah,
pain.
exactly.
Wow.
Exactly. And it happens in your hands as well. You know, the tips of your fingers can happen, you know, that can happen
Mm-hmm.
as well.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why you have to pay close attention to what your body is telling you to help yourself.
Yes, absolutely. That's amazing, this information you're sharing with us. So, I mean, I didn't want to tell the audience what the other part of you,
For
the
the other
other
part.
side of you yet. Um, but you're doing fantastic work in your advocacy, and you're using humor to actually pay it forward. So, could you explain that part, please?
Yeah, the comedy came from just me being me. It was really I don't really know how to describe it because I've always been this I mean, I don't give myself any credit to being funny because I've oftentimes I don't even think I'm as funny as a lot of people think I am. But my sense of humor is a bit twisted. It's a little bit I I find things funny that a lot of people don't.
Mm,
Which kind of plays into the advocacy using humor to kind of break down those barriers as far as diabetes is concerned. Um, and I mean, I started doing comedy. This was years ago, like maybe like in the early 2000s. And but because of the diabetes, I couldn't really concentrate on becoming like a traveling or road comic, as we're called. You know, the guys that go out and just go from place to place, making very little money, trying to climb the ladder. I couldn't
mhm.
do that because I didn't. Because in my opinion, you know, when you're on the road like that, you're basically eating fast
All
food.
sorts of things.
Yeah.
You're on the move.
Yep.
So your diet, your nutrition is
Yep.
warped.
Yeah, exactly. And so I couldn't see myself doing that. And so I never really pursued trying to, you know, be on Comedy Central and things of that nature. But through the advocacy, I found a way that I could actually still, you know, use the funny, but use it in a more positive way to where I can help people understand
Yes.
the plight of diabetes. And one of the things that I found, the more I started talking about my diabetes on stage, I meet a lot of people after the shows that would come up and tell me that they never talked about their diabetes before, and they were amazed that I was doing that. And then out of me, it wasn't that big of a deal. I mean, because I'm you know, as far as my diabetes now, I'm pretty open about it. I don't care. I'll talk about it if I have
That's
to. If people
it.
see me with my pump, you know, if I see me with my CBGM on my arm, I'll talk about it. I don't have a problem. Um,
Absolutely.
and I and that's something I've never wrapped my head around. Is a lot of people have problems talking about it, that they don't want to show their devices and all this kind of stuff. And
And
it's like,
vulnerabilities and
what? I
all.
mean, yeah. And this is your life. You don't have
Hmm.
to, you know, cover it up for anybody else's, you know, comfort. Let them deal with it, you know. And I'd say that to anybody with an autoimmune. If you know, like, you know, if you're dealing with chemo and your hair is gone, you know, go for it. Let it ride. You know,
Yeah.
let it be their problem, not yours.
Hmm.
You know, to me, when I see a person going through chemo and they take that wrap off
Hmm.
or the wig off, I mean, that's empowerment.
Very
You know,
much so.
that's empowerment right there because you're just letting everybody know you're not letting it beat you.
That's
So, you
it.
know, I say, you know, go for it. Don't worry. Let them worry about it and just keep
Hmm.
rolling, you know?
Hmm.
And that's the stuff that I was getting back from a lot of people. Because like I said, they weren't, there's a, see what it is, there's a stigma about diabetes in this country because a lot of the humor, the insensitive humor, and the stigma of if you have diabetes, it means you're overweight or you're lazy and things of that nature. That's the kind of stuff that makes it difficult for people to really want to be open
Come
about it.
forward and be
Yeah,
open about it. Yes.
because they don't want to be judged, they don't want to be marginalized,
Hmm.
and so that was one of the reasons that what I wanted to do this and talk about it so much because I could actually open that up and just open it up for discussion and let people understand that some of the dumb things that are said about diabetes. Okay, I don't mind humor about diabetes as long as it's true, as long as it's factual. You know, like when you make jokes about oh, you ate a bunch of candy, you got diabetes, or you must have ate a lot of candy when you were a kid. That ain't the way it
Mm-hmm.
works. By
Exactly.
no means, it doesn't even remotely work that way. Now, I don't, like I said, if you come up with a joke that's actually based on truth, and that's where the funny is, when the jokes that are based on truth, those are the funny ones, because
Mm-hmm.
that's where people
And
find
identify.
exactly,
You understand?
exactly. You can identify because they know it's true too,
Mm-hmm.
and so that's what I try to do. I don't necessarily try to browbeat people into seeing things my way. I just try to talk, and the majority of the things that I talk about when I make jokes about it is my experience, because
Yes.
I can't really talk about anyone else's experience. And I
Mm-mm.
learned that from a lot of from several comics who live with conditions themselves. I worked with a comedian. He had had vision loss, and he talked about obviously what he's experienced. I've worked with comedians who are living with forms of cancer. They're talking about their personal experiences, because the thing is, when you talk about your personal experience, somewhere in there somebody's going to listen to your personal experience and then relate to it, and then they can actually see some light in their own, where they were trying to
Yes.
keep it to themselves. They
Yeah.
can see that in you, and it's like, you know what, he's right, that I can actually talk about mine.
Mm-hmm.
you know and so I think that is I think it's very important. I don't add a lot of pressure to myself about it, but I think it's important that we be open with our conditions.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we advocate, because I think the advocates, such as you and myself, we're the most powerful ones out there. I don't give a great deal of credit, and I don't take a lot of credit away from, at the same time, these orgs that are out there, because we're the foot soldiers, in my opinion.
Yes,
We're the
we
ones that
are.
are out there that's taking on the responsibility to trying to get this information out there to get people to understand. We're not out there trying to schmooze them over to get some money or whatever.
No way.
And that's the thing with me, is like when I talk about diabetic advocacy, my thing, a lot of diabetes advocates are going talking about legislation and talking to politicians and stuff like that. It's like, I don't need that. You
No.
know, I just don't. I don't need that. I would rather talk to people who are actually living through the stuff that I live through.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's important that I actually get that information out, because somebody out there might need it. Somebody may be going around, walking
Somebody
around with,
out there will always need it.
yeah, there's
Not
somebody out there walking around with no vision in their left eye, like I did.
yes.
So I need to get them to understand that there is a way out.
Yes.
That's not something you got to go through by yourself.
Mm-hmm.
That's the
Mm-hmm.
stuff that I don't see a lot of these orgs doing. They're
Yes.
more concerned about either trying to find a cure or
Mm-hmm.
trying to fund this and this, that, and the other, but
Mm-hmm.
they're
Mm-hmm.
doing very little to get in contact with the people.
Yes.
And
Yes.
it's the people that need to understand this, because oftentimes they don't even think about the orgs.
Mm-mm.
You got people out here who are lower income and marginalized people of color that don't
They don't have
understand,
insurance and they're
don't
facing
have
all
insurance.
this.
Exactly.
And they have nowhere to go. Nobody is accepting them. The
Exactly.
marginalized, those who are going through so much, they're not covered. And so they're there sitting down and waiting for God to come down,
Yep.
because there's nobody there to advocate for them. They feel nobody will even understand.
Exactly.
Everywhere you go, they're going to ask, where's your insurance?
Right.
Everywhere you go now in America.
And they
So,
don't, and they're walking around, many of them walking around with the whole world in their pocket. You
mm,
got this thing here and the whole world is in your pocket, but you
yes,
don't know how to use it to
use it.
access that information and
Hmm.
help that you would need.
Hmm.
And that's what happened to me, because I didn't really know anything about advocacy. And when I started using social media and meeting all these other people like myself who had diabetes, that's when I started to, get an understanding of what my power was, you
Yes.
know, and I learned that I can actually use whatever talents I have to try and help people.
Hmm.
And so that's pretty much where that came from. I just kind of fell into it, and I just used the tools that I had. You know,
Yes.
that to me, that's what anybody can do. You don't have to be, the thing that I see a lot of advocates on social media, you got the ones that are athletes and you got the ones that are um, dietitians and all this,
Hmm.
and big on nutrition and stuff. That's all well and good.
Yeah.
Speak to your audience. But there's a bunch of folks out here that aren't interested in lifting weights, or trying to wear this, that, and the other, and then modeling their little and all this. They aren't interested in that. They're trying to get
Mhm.
from day to day.
Mhm.
You
Mhm.
know, these are the folks that are actually living in food deserts where they can't find fresh fruits and vegetables in their
Yes.
neighborhoods. They got to travel, 4-5 miles or so to get to go find a decent grocery store. But and all of that stemmed from systemic racism
Yes.
and classism. So
Absolutely.
this is the kind of stuff we're having to deal with, along with actually living with these conditions. These folks need to understand where they can get some help.
Mhm.
You know, so yeah, I mean that's where it all comes from for me is using whatever tools I have that I can use to have kind of get the
Yeah,
illustrating the information.
to advance advocacy,
I'm
your
about empowering the
advocacy
people.
and
Yeah, I'm
empowering.
about empowering people.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
that's um that's where the whole change is going to come from. I'm not going to wait around for these orgs to contact me
No
because
way.
obviously they've shown themselves not to be really interested in anybody who looks like me.
Mm.
All you got to do
Mm.
is look at what they're projecting online. They aren't interested in me or anybody that looks like us.
Yeah.
Okay, they have their own little agenda. Okay, well, cool. I got mine too.
Exactly.
So,
And we'll deal with those that are near us and can understand us.
yep,
Exactly.
exactly.
That's amazing. I love what you do. I love what you do, and the fact that you're paying it forward for people to, because there's not much being said. Like you said, diabetes is it's anybody having it now appears to be stigmatized, like all other diseases,
Exactly.
anyways. It's
Exactly.
like you have cancer. I mean, a lot of cancer
Everybody.
patients, oh, you were a smoker. No, most of the
Mhm.
people that I met had never smoked in their entire lives,
Right.
and they had lung cancer.
Right.
Explain that, you know. So that's why a lot of people do not talk about um, their diseases. But like you said, we are the foot soldiers. We are the foot soldiers, and we'll keep marching on, doing what we have to
Yeah.
do to
Yeah.
make
That's what
sure that
it's. Yeah.
our
I
work.
mean, we're not doing it for any fame or any
No, no way.
monetary gain because, truth be told, none of that is out there
Where
right
is that? Where is that coming in?
now. It ain't.
Nothing.
I ain't seen it.
Most cases, I use my money to do the
Yeah.
advocacy.
Exactly.
I don't get money from
Yeah. Exactly.
anybody.
All this stuff I'm using is that came out of my pocket.
Yes, exactly.
Exactly.
That's, yeah.
So that's what we
So
got to do.
that's what we have to do. That's what we have to do. And that's how we pay it forward the best, we can do, you know. That's nice. So what physical, well, apart from now we have COVID-19, we can't
Yeah.
go
Right.
anywhere.
I know.
Do you engage in any physical activities? Because,
Yeah.
with
I'm trying to
diabetes, you
get.
need to.
Yeah. I'm trying to get back into that. To whether it's nothing but working out with uh, resistance bands indoors or just doing old school calisthenics you used to do when you
Mm.
back in grade school, stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that to basically keep your body moving. uh,
Yeah.
Oddly enough, I mean, a lot of people have gained weight during this shutdown. I've actually lost weight because I've been cooking.
Mm-hmm.
And so actually I haven't done as much movement as I should be, but then again I think a lot of it just comes from being able to cook more,
Mm.
not relying on these frozen processed foods that I would take to
Yeah.
work to eat at
Yeah.
lunch and stuff like that. You know uh, because I'd have to, because either the cafeteria is too expensive. I don't want to get in that rut spending like $30 or so a week
Mm-hmm.
just for lunch. um, and so I mean,
For unhealthy lunch, for that
yeah,
matter.
exactly. The quarantine's worked out for me. I haven't spent a whole lot of money. Like I said, I've been eating better. Um, I mean, still working from home is stressful, but you get through it. Um,
Yeah.
you get
We're
through
now
it.
used to it, actually.
Yeah.
This is our office right here, right here.
Yep. And I don't mind not going back because everybody was talking about, when are we going back to work? It's like, I don't even care.
Excuse
You-
me?
I'm, I'm, I don't mind.
No
I'll just stay
way.
here. I'm
I'm
fine
very
right here.
comfy.
I remember what
Exactly.
all you look like. I don't need to see you every day. I remember what you look like.
That's it.
We'll get
Wow.
over it.
That's nice. Very nice, Chelsea. So, with all your experience and everything over the last 25 plus years, what do you think the impact has been on you? Has it been positive, negative? Do you have any regrets or
Um, I
these are things I love to ask.
solemn and bitter about, my vision. And I have been at times. I mean, I'm still dealing with different issues as far as my vision. I have this new thing now. It's called a corneal erosion. Basically, what happens is I had posted a video about it on Instagram the other day. Basically, what happens is when I'm sleeping, it's like my eye gets dry, and my eyelid will literally stick to my cornea. And so when I get up in the morning, it's almost like you're, ripping tape
Ripping.
off your skin.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
And see, and then my
Seriously?
vision's blurred. Yeah, and then my vision's blurred for the rest of the day. So
Isn't
you
that
can
the same
imagine,
as being dry-eyed? That you
yeah,
need
pretty
to have
much.
some drops for that?
Yep. And so you can imagine if I wake up and this one goes bad, obviously this one is not going to be working, period. So I'm
No.
pretty much,
Oh wow.
done for at least a couple of days. And I've had to be out of work because of that, because I couldn't see the screen. And it'll eventually come back. But so I had to learn to religiously put moisturizing drops or whatever in my eye before I go to bed,
Mm-hmm.
because, like I said, I can't allow my eye to dry up, or else I'll be, down for the count for who knows how long. So it's just a matter of those. It's another one of those things that you have to. It's another brick you got to tote. You know, obviously living with type 1, it has its built-in bricks, but then again, that's an additional brick. And so, like I said, I could be bitter, and sometimes I am with
Mm-hmm.
that. But the depression and the burnout is real.
Mm-hmm.
Um, people with diabetes suffer from depression a lot, because it's a lot to deal with. Because, like I said, the majority of it is on you. And when you start getting those bad report cards, so to speak, from the doctor, you want to blame yourself and then feel sorry for yourself, and then you just end up in what is called diabetes burnout. Basically, where it's like you've been become overwhelmed with it. You're not even taking care of yourself. You're not checking your numbers. You're not paying closer attention to what you're eating. All of us has been through that. I've been through it to where I wasn't even checking my blood sugar for a few days. I was just like I'd had it, you know,
Mm-hmm.
just just kind of skate through it, you know, and it happens. And so the depression is real.
Yes.
And you have to really kind of fight it. If it comes down to medication, there's no shame in it. I take an antidepressant
Mm-hmm.
because it keeps me kind of level,
Mm-hmm.
because I don't want to walk around. Because when you get depressed, you don't want to do anything. You don't want to do the things that you like to do or the things that you need to do. And honestly, I can't afford to do that. I can't afford to not want to advocate,
Yes.
because being an advocate has given me it's given me, I guess, some worth, in a sense that I'm not just,
Maybe not just not worth, I would say, some direction.
yeah, it keeps you
I
grounded,
don't think it's worth. It's direction. Yeah, it keeps you grounded. Yes.
because oftentimes you go through life trying to figure out, why am I here? What should I be doing with this? And that was the thing with me. Me personally, I've been kind of searching for a long time to find out exactly what am I supposed to be doing here.
Mm-hmm.
Because I I've done a lot of things. I was a musician for a while. Obviously then the comedy, and then um, I got into technology and other things that I've gotten into and that I was actually pretty good at, but I never was really good at anything. And I still have my doubts about being an advocate. Am I actually doing as much as anybody else? But I have to squash that, because it's not about what I'm doing, it's what I trying to compare myself to anybody else. I know my
No,
strengths, and I've got a lot to offer.
you
And I
sure
have my
do.
own voice and my own story. So that's what that keeps me either above the frame or flying up there with the same eagles that I look up to, because I've got my own story. I've got my own, um, passion and drive that I can pass on to somebody else. So that's what gives me, I guess that helps me squash that the depression in a
And
sense.
doubt.
Yeah, and that doubt, the self doubt will tear you apart. I know that for a fact.
Self-doubt will definitely tear one apart. Yeah. So that helps. That's okay.
True enough.
Yeah, yes, indeed. That's great. That's great, Chelsea. So, I've got to let you go now because you just closed from work. But one last thing,
Yep.
what advice would you give to just that one person that would listen to this episode, how to scale through and overcome those challenges as a diabetic? What would you tell them?
One thing that worked for me is finding a community. When I was first diagnosed, a community was very hard to come by, because this was like I was 25, and the majority of people that
Mm-hmm.
I would go to these little support groups they sent me to from the doctor. And I'd walk in and I'd be the youngest one in there. Everybody would be senior citizen. I'd just be my 25-year-old self, not having any idea what is going on. So I didn't have the ability to find a community. So these days, it's really easy. All you have to do is pick up that phone. You can use Facebook, you can do Instagram, and just search the hashtag diabetes. You will find a
Yes.
plethora of people who are living with it. You'll find, quite naturally, you'll find the ones that are out here doing phenomenal things, wrestling and bike riding, doing all these other different phenomenal things. Then again, you got to find some other people who are going through the same crap that you are,
Yes.
have the same questions as you do, that need to find somebody like you so they can bounce this off of and have somebody to connect with. So they'll actually
Mm-hmm.
have an understanding that they're not alone, because that's an awful feeling to have a autoimmune disease like this and then feel like you're alone. Because when you
Yes.
get to that point, that's when you're not taking care of yourself.
Mm.
Okay, so you need that. And it's not like, meeting a community is going to add any more pressure to you to try and keep up, per se. It's just a matter of being able to find that network and that community of people that are going to help you understand that you're not alone, that you actually can get through this, and you can actually lean on other people. You can actually talk to them. So, especially now, I mean, look at us now. We're in the middle of this pandemic, and we
That's it.
got Zoom, and then we can actually connect with everybody that we should be able to connect with. That was the
Mhm.
the flip side of this whole COVID thing. It's like
Yes.
this company, the application we're using now, Zoom, everybody's kicking themselves because they never invested in it,
Yes.
and now
They're smiling to the banks. I
exactly,
tell you, Zoom has exploded,
you know,
right?
yeah. And so that you use those tools, the free ones that you have, like I said, use your phone. There's a community out there for you, and all the rest of us advocates, we're actually trying to find you. So just come find us. We're right there.
Absolutely. Something came to mind when you were talking. Has it, uh, do you know if um, diabetes has kind of morphed into, I mean, considering it's the pancreas, right, into pancreatic cancer?
I've often wondered about it. I've known people to get pancreas transplants, but I've often wondered about, is there a connection between the two? Because
Is there a connection? Yes.
I've had, well, I've had two family members um, that had pancreatic cancer. My father passed from cancer, and it basically had spread. So it was in his pancreas, and I think it was also in his liver. And my mother's father, he had pancreatic cancer, and he passed away from that. So
So
I've
this is
often wondered.
hereditary for you.
Yeah, and see, you notice what I said. My father, he passed away from cancer, and so did his father.
Mm-hmm.
And his mother had breast cancer at one point. Now, my other grandfather, my mother's father, he had cancer. Her mother, her mother had cancer. So I've got history of cancer on both sides of my family. So I oftentimes tell my brothers, like, get checked,
Yes.
and I'm kicking myself now because I still need to get a colonoscopy.
Yes. I'm
I
having
still need to
mine
do
done
that,
next week.
really. And see,
Yeah.
I put that off, and now with COVID,
Please
I have to
don't.
double check to
Don't
see.
put it off at all.
Yeah,
No.
yeah.
I actually this very evening booked an appointment for next week for my
Oh, really?
referral. Yes, this evening
Yeah.
before I came on, because it should have been last month June, but then it was like, but now
Right.
that things are kind of easing up a bit, especially in New York. We can still go into the hospitals or into my doctor's office with a mask and whatever.
Right. Yeah,
Need
and
to get it
that's
done.
what I was doing. The same thing is like, um, everything got put on hold when all this hit. And
Yes.
then I started telling myself, well, still need to do this. And so now that everything's starting to kind of open up a little, I'm going to
Yes.
give them a call. If I can't get them tomorrow, my
Mm.
day off is on Thursday. So I'm going to spend most of that day, hacking out all the things that I'm supposed to be doing,
Yes.
including that,
Yes.
to see if I can make it happen. Cause like I said, I don't know what their office is about or what they're doing right now,
Yeah.
but, I
Yeah.
can at least find out.
Yeah, you should. You should. I've had that nagging, when
Oh yeah.
something is
Same here.
nagging, I'm like,
Yeah, I have too. That was
I
the
have
thing.
to
Is like
do
I've
that.
done just about everything else. I got my endo. I got my, some sort of. Well, we can use the nurse practitioners at work for our primary. So I've been doing that. Got all that
Yeah,
locked up. But this is the one thing that's been dangling that I need to get straightened out.
absolutely. Absolutely. Please get that done, okay?
Oh yeah,
And every other
definitely. Yeah,
that
everybody
we
listen,
need
get it
to.
done.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Chelsea. It's been
No,
wonderful
thank you.
talking to you. I hope you've enjoyed our conversation,
I
and
have. I have immensely. I appreciate it.
I'm so happy you found the time to come on. I really, really appreciate it.
No, I appreciate
Okay.
it. Thank you very much.
So let me just sign out and then I'll sign you out. So,
Cool.
ladies and gentlemen, you have heard from the amazing Chelcie Rice about his experience with diabetes and what he's doing to make sure that he keeps it at bay. Watch your diet, your nutrition, look up at the cans, the food you buy, be very careful, everything in moderation, and check everything that needs to be checked, especially guys, I say, you don't take care of yourself. So this is the time you should, okay? So I'm winding down now. Thank you so much for watching this episode. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share to my YouTube channel. Ciao, ciao. God bless. Thank you so much, Chelsea.
Thank you.
God bless. Talk to you soon.
All right. You take care.
Bye. Take care. Bye.
Bye.